After another big round of games this past Sunday, I'm excited to see what Bobby Bottles has in store for his power rankings. There has to be some changes in this list. And if not, I'm going to protest the rankings. So Bobby, why don't you give it to us right now so me and or Frank and I can chop it up afterwards. Let's go.
It will be different because I don't think we even did the power rankings last week
We
as we
missed it.
missed
You're
them.
right. Correct.
But from 2 weeks ago, it will actually be, I'm looking at slightly different, but relatively the same. So let's get into it. In the 10 spot, I still have the Los Angeles Chargers still occupying that 10 spot. Be very debatable. Number 9, still sticking at the 9 spot, I have Dallas. 8, we're going with the Cleveland Browns. I've downgraded the Cleveland Browns slightly. 7, the Green Bay Packers. Sitting at 7, very unimpressed with their win against Chicago this week. Number 6, I was almost put them lower. The Kansas City Chiefs. A bit of a shocker here, but I got KC at 6, and I'll explain why later. Number 5, the revamped Baltimore Ravens. And I'll tell you why they're at 5. 4, we have the shock. Arizona still sits at 4 in my power rankings. I'll tell you why after. 3, I got the Buffalo Bills sitting in the 3 spot. 2, I still have the Rams. And number 1, we're going with the champs, the Bucks.
All right.
Dissect away.
You had a lot of tell us whys in there. So please, I want to know why. Why the Browns? I got to pick that one apart. I'm a Steeler fan, so I'm biased in this. I hate the Browns. They're a really talented roster.
Mm-hmm.
But we had GF here from SFW on this pod last week, and we talked about Baker Mayfield. Like, I just don't think he's good enough to take this team where it wants to go. Look at all the other teams that are in this ranking and look at their quarterbacks. Does Baker belong in that category? I don't think so. I would move the Browns out, to be honest. They're 3-3, barely hang on to a playoff spot.
I completely agree with everything you just said. But that roster is so good. They are at 8 in spite of Baker Mayfield. And you look at it, they're the 8th best team in the league with arguably the second or first best roster. That's the only reason they're down there is because of Baker. Because he's not that good of a quarterback. I think we're finally like people still will not admit that he was a bit of a bust. Nobody will refuse to give the props, but the reason they're at 8 is because they are a great roster with a bad quarterback. Now everybody's going to jump on Arizona. They're going to say, "Well, Arizona crushed them at home." Well, guess what? Cleveland was missing 3 offensive linemen, including their 2 tackles. Cleveland, that was their game. That's a game that they should win. At home, windy conditions, but they ran into some bad circumstances. And I'm not going to penalize them for that. Plus, I look at it and go, who are we going to put ahead of them? Give me who you'd put ahead of Cleveland right now.
Dallas.
Dallas, yeah.
I think Dallas was too low on your list.
Yeah, I want to move them up, but I just need to see them beat one good team. Because right now their strength of schedule is as bad as it gets. I mean,
well, I know they didn't beat them, but they were right there with Tampa. Like that was a great game. You can't take that away from them.
Yeah. I don't. But I saw them barely squeak out a game against a really average New England team that they probably should have lost. They beat the Eagles, they beat the Panthers, they beat the Giants. Their one big win was against the Chargers that they shouldn't have won. They were outplayed all game. I think 9 is fair for the Cowboys because we'll get into like if they're a for real or Fugazzis team later.
So 9 is fair for the Cowboys, but a team that's undefeated is not in your top 3?
Yeah, that was very hard for me. I need to see
very
them
hard for me too.
I need to see them win one more game. And I have another reason.
Just one
First
more.
of all, again, that Cleveland win, 3 offensive linemen. This is a rule for betting. I talk about it in the betting stuff that we do. If you're missing O linemen, cluster injuries on the O line, you're not winning the game. There's no team, no one can overcome cluster injuries on the O line. The Cleveland Browns were missing Jack Conklin, like all-pro right tackle. I believe his name is Jedrick Wills, all-pro left tackle, and they were missing a guard. it's just too much to overcome, especially against an Arizona defense that's very good. My biggest question for Arizona is going to be durability. Last year we saw Kyler Murray kind of struggle at the end of the year as the season went on. He's a smaller athlete. He is as exciting as there is, but he's smaller. We don't know how he's going to last over the course of 17 games now.
Okay, fair enough. And the Bills, after that loss to Tennessee, you dropped them, or are they staying where they were?
Yeah, I have them still at 3. I just ask you, on a neutral field, Buffalo at full strength, Arizona at full strength, let's say in the cold, who would you have winning that game? Neutral site.
Probably take Buffalo.
So, I mean, if they go into domes, it's going to be relatively similar. Arizona might have a slight more advantage, but I just, at this point, I think Buffalo's a more complete team. They lost a really tough game, a close game, but I mean, we saw that was inches. They were inches away from getting that first down. So I think another team that I love to talk about, the Baltimore Ravens. And I'm going to go ahead and say this. I gotta be honest with you. Lamar Jackson's kind of impressing me. And not the running stuff and not the he is throwing the ball really well. And I'd love to put them higher, but I don't know how he's going to do when it gets a little bit windier. Now, we have to remember that September and October, the weather's favorable. It's not too windy. There's no cold. The air's a little bit thinner. When it gets colder, I want to see his arm. But I got to be honest with you. Right now, it'd be hard for me not to say Lamar Jackson's not a top 5 quarterback if he throws the ball like this.
I would agree. Yeah, he's been awesome.
He's been unbelievable.
Okay, let's get into for real or Fugazzis then, because this is one of my favorite segments that we do, where we chat about whether a team is for real or a Fugazi, with they're a fake. So let's start with your first 3 teams on your power rankings. You got the Bucks, you've got the Rams, and what was it again? The third team?
Buffalo.
So for me, all those teams are for real. Frankie, do you agree?
Agreed.
Bobby?
Agreed.
Obviously, you rank them that high. Okay, so let's go with the 4th team, Cardinals. Correct?
For real.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Oh, you're giving me heck about putting them too low.
No, Frank was giving you heck for putting them too low.
Are you giving me shit, Rob?
You know what? I'm gonna say Fugazi for now. They're swinging me over the other direction.
Okay.
They got a lot of playmakers on defense, and obviously Kyler Murray is something to watch. So, but I want them to prove it to me more. So let's go with Team 5 now, Baltimore Ravens. The biggest mover in your rankings. Frankie,
I'll go first.
Okay.
I'll go Fugazi for this reason. I don't know if Lamar Jackson's going to keep this up, and they don't really have a running game. Like, their running game right now is Lamar, and they're missing a running back. This was the toughest one for me because I think if they have running backs, I put them as a for real this year.
Yeah, well, they do have a running game, so Lamar Jackson. But I think, when Dobbins emerged last year, he was that other, like, he had a good second half of that year last year. I think he getting hit with injuries on the defense, because we used to talk about Baltimore defense was like that was the, their image, right? So, and I don't think they're as good as they were. But they did get to the championship, a conference championship last year, right? So,
divisional round they got to.
Sorry, divisionals. Yeah, sorry, you're right. Yeah, they're not there for me yet. Almost there.
I'm gonna put them for real. Like they're 5-1. They've beat some good teams, and Lamar's taken a step. And like you said, Bobby, like as of right now, he's a top 5 quarterback in the league. And when you have a top 5 quarterback, that just makes you for real.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? So I'll put them there. At 6, you had
KC. Very interesting one here.
They're for real, man. Again, Patrick Mahomes, he's the best quarterback in the league. He automatically puts them in for real category because the guy can win games on his own. But I do have my worries about them. I stated it last week. The offensive line has not been as great as we've seen in the past, and their defense stinks. But Mahomes alone puts them in for real for me.
Can we argue that their offense is for real and their defense is Fugazi?
I mean, you could do it, sure.
Like I really don't care. There's no rules against it. But is anybody concerned about the amount of interceptions that Mahomes is throwing? Like you just know that as good as he is, like some of the decision making he's essentially making, you have to think that it's going to come at the worst possible moment in a big game. It's going to cost them. So
I'm not worried about that.
to Joe's point, yeah, they have to be for real because of the offense, but that D is just awful. You just hope that they can keep them in the game, right? But you can't bet against them right now. So yeah, I'll say for real.
This was as hard as there is, I think, on the list. I'm gonna put some faith in Andy Reid, although he doesn't look like himself this year. I think, nobody's talked about it. The stuff with his son is still kind of looming overall this season, and doesn't look invested. But I would go farther than Frank and say not only is that defense bad, that O-line is very bad. And if you look at KC, I did a stat on the other pod. They're 3-7 against the spread in their last 10 games. And the 10 games have been against legit teams. The only two teams that they've covered against were Washington and Philly, that we both know are from the NFC East. They're bad teams. I'll say they're for real if they fix their O-line. I think their offense can overcome the defensive problems, but that defense is really bad right now. But they are missing Chris Jones, and they're missing someone in their secondary that might help. But I'll go with a very reluctant for real.
All right. At 7, you had
Green Bay.
Fugazi for me.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm not buying them. I'm not buying what they're cooking.
I mean, wasn't last year their year to win, and they got worse?
Yeah.
They're no better this year.
They don't seem impressed. They don't impress me. I don't know.
I think they're like they lost their center. Lindley went to the Chargers. So he basically lost his All-Pro center, and like they're winning games. I think they're the only team that's 4-2 or 5-1 that has a negative point differential. It's not like they're.
Yeah, they've taken a hit on the defense too. I think Jair Alexander's hurt.
Yeah,
a big blow to them.
He's unbelievable. So I'll also go Fugazi. Number 8, Cleveland.
Fugazi.
No.
Yep.
Fugazi.
Totally. And Baker Mayfield. They are a quarterback away from being
excellent
top 4 team.
Yeah,
but
I agree.
You don't have a quarterback, and I'll tell you as a Bronco fan, if you don't have a quarterback, you're not winning anything in this league. Number 9, this is going to be the big one. The Cowboys, the Dallas Cowboys.
You know what? Their play would indicate to me that they are for real. But it's the Cowboys, and we've learned this. I don't want to make the same mistake I've made in the past. So I have to say Fugazi, and they won't be for real to me until they've won a couple playoff games, almost like the Leafs in that respect. I think the Leafs are Fugazis too until they prove otherwise. So as well as they've played, I love Dak. Dak's been awesome. The defense has taken a major step this year, which is a big reason why I want to put them in the for real category, but it's just still the Cowboys, and I don't trust them. So I have to see more in order for me to put them as for real. They are a Fugazi for me.
I'm going to use the Kansas City example with Mahomes. I think Dak Prescott is almost at that point where being that good puts them in a for real discussion, and he has been that good. And you probably argue that they maybe have a little bit more offensive weapons than KC has right now. They definitely have a running game. They got some capable receivers, and they have a difference maker on the other side of the ball right now with Diggs. I know that because I took their defense this week and they scored another interception for a touchdown. So you know what? I'm going to go against you guys. I think they're for real. I would not be surprised to see them coming out of the NFC this year. And seriously.
I would be very surprised. And I'm going to say, I think Dak has been unbelievable. I think Dak is a much better quarterback than people want to give him credit for. But I still think he makes too much money. And this is a team that, again, has not really played anybody for real. They are 6-0 against the spread. Do you know how inconceivable it is for a public team like Dallas to be 6-0 against the spread? I, they, I don't buy it. I don't buy it. I don't think they're a tremendously better team than they were 2 years ago, 3 years ago that couldn't even win a playoff game. This is the Toronto Maple Leafs. Remember the example? This is the Leafs. So I don't care how good the regular season is, and their regular season's been good so far, but I mean, outside of the Chargers, they haven't really beat a really good team. Last team on my power ranking team was the Chargers. And you're on
Ooh.
mute. Yeah. You're on mute.
I'm gonna say so. Joe fixes audio problems. I'm gonna say, man, that defense is really holding me back there. I think that's the one team that can actually dethrone KC though
Mm-hmm.
in the West.
I agree.
I think Johnny Herbert is that good on that side. Man, this is my hardest one.
Did you just have a Johnny Walker moment?
Mm.
You called him Johnny Herbert.
Why?
His
Well, it's
name is
Justin.
Justin.
But,
I got I'll call him Johnny.
What's the
Isn't there
sentable
a
woman
wrestler,
line?
Johnny Herbert? Sorry, Justin Herbert. Yeah, I could have called him Guy Bear. Would you rather prefer that one?
Is it John Daniels?
Give me some John Daniels.
John Daniels.
Isn't it
there.
Jack? Well, you know him
Justin
as long as
Herbert.
I have son. It's John.
Okay, I'm just gonna flip a coin. You know what? I'd say Fugazzis to this point.
Wow. I'm gonna shock the world here. And I said I think they're gonna move up in my power rankings. I think this is a for real team. I think forget the Baltimore game, bad scenario. I think Justin Herbert's amazing. I like the coaching staff. I like a lot of the pieces there. The only thing holding me back is that LA Chargers. I mean, I've seen them fail so many times, but I gotta be honest with you. I think they're gonna win the West. I think they're a better team right now than Kansas City. I'm gonna go with it for real.
Yeah, I'm gonna go with Fugazi. I know you want to ignore what just happened this past week, but I don't know how you can. They didn't just lose the game; they were obliterated by a team that, you know, has really taken a step. And I really like this team. Like you said, I love Herbert. I love the coaching staff. The offense is great. The defense is not good enough, and they may very well dethrone the Chiefs. I can't put them there yet.
Okay, we got a few other teams, and we'll go through them a lot quicker than we did these ones because
Yes.
we don't need
Yep.
analysis. So, just outside my list was the Cincinnati Bengals.
They're Fugazi still.
Yeah.
On the right path, but they're not in that for real category yet.
I really liked them, but yeah, totally. Their old line is not good enough. But I got to be wrong. Joe Burrow is really, or John Burrow, as Frank would like to call him, is really
Yeah.
Johnny Burrow. Who else do we got here? Who am I missing here? Geez, I'm getting a little slow here on the
Seahawks, Broncos, Panthers.
yeah, hold on. We're almost there. Here's the one. Here's the closest one because I think a lot of them are Fugazis. Titans.
Yeah, I was gonna say them. No. That defense is awful.
Yeah, but the running game is incredible. And, playoff football, if you have a good running game, it means a lot. And they've got really good receivers. I think Tannehill is he's a capable quarterback. I'll call it that. But I don't know how you can put them in the for real category at this point. But that was a big win. That was a big win for them this past week. They beat a team that we can all agree is for real, which helps. Right?
Yeah. I don't like
still think they're Fugazi.
Yeah, I think Buffalo people are not going to acknowledge that was an awful spot for Buffalo. Short road favorite. It was a bad spot. I'm going to put them in a Fugazi as well. I'm with Frank. Their defense. You got to have a top 15 defense to win a championship. The Raiders, Las Vegas Raiders.
They don't go away, man. They're just still, they're up there. I think they took a little bit of a step back with this whole Gruden thing. I don't know how much that's going to affect them, but they're that team for me that can still make it into that top 10. So, but
It
until
could
they
be a
do, yep.
sorry, Frankie. Sorry.
No,
It could be a step forward. Like it could galvanize the group in a way, right?
could be. I just think that there's a lot of a distraction right now. I'm not saying it's going to be detrimental, but I think they're almost there, but they're still a Fugazi for me.
Yeah, I think you could end the list here, Frankie. Bobby, there's no other for real teams that you can convince me of.
Let me see. Anybody down here? You don't want to talk about your Steelers?
Come on, they're not. No.
Colts? No. You guys don't want to talk about the Colts?
No, thank you. No, thank you.
Here's one that I think is interesting. This is the last one, I think. Patriots.
Come on,
Rob. Right. Nothing, eh?
No.
Okay.
Come on.
I don't know. I got some. I don't know.
All right. Let's revisit this in, let's say, a month and see if any of our decisions have changed in that time span. I'm really interested to see the Cowboys, what we think of them in that time span, because I believe they're a team that has struggled in the later months, like November, December. So I'm interested to see what happens with them. And Bobby, you would know, what's their schedule like?
Upcoming?
Yeah.
Oh, geez.
I mean, they get to play those other NFC East teams, which certainly.
Well, they're on bye this week, so
yeah.
Yeah, but they've got a lot of easy. I think they've cleaned up a lot of their easy games. So they got the Vikings. Vikings at home, but that's a Sunday night game. They're probably going to win that game. They get the Broncos at home. That's a winnable. Falcons at home, winnable. Chiefs on the road, not winnable. Raiders at home. Yeah, they've got a real favorable schedule. They got the Saints at home or Saints on the road. And here's where I think we have to be careful. The NFL is the one sport where you only play 16 games or now 17, and schedule matters. I feel like we don't talk about this very often. So even though you have a good record, the Cowboys are going to have a good record. It looks like they're going to go 12-5, 13-4. I still don't think they don't really. They play the Cardinals. Like their two toughest games are Cardinals and Chiefs, and one of them's at home. That's it. It's not like they have a slew of big games. So yeah. It's going to be interesting. They'll have a good record, but
kind of like the Steelers last year when they started 11-0, they didn't have a really tough schedule, right? Up to that point. So,
and especially because I believe Dallas was a third place team or fourth place team, so they have a fourth place schedule. It's even easier than any other football. Anything that jumped out from week 6 for you guys?
Derrick Henry's incredible.
Yeah, he's pretty good at football.
What's incredible for me is that he gets so many touches. He's such a workhorse, but he never gets hurt.
Yeah.
And you look at every other running back in the league he's on the injury list.
Yeah.
This guy's never even on the injury list, not even questionable.
I mean, when you're 6'4", 230, you're doing the hitting and not getting hit, so that probably helps.
Yeah, that's true. All right, boys.
Last minute?